Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are right at market close on Tuesday, October 31st. We're going to take a look at AVTX today. So AVTX making a nice move up over 17% at the moment off of some positive news. And I wanted to come in and check in on it because I wanted to refresh the chart, basically. Yes, it's moving off of positive news catalyst, but of additional interest to me is that this gap that we had on the chart, you see these gray lines right here, that's the gap from back here on this gap up. And it partially filled it here, and then it just finished filling it yesterday. And so it's of additional interest to me when a news catalyst sort of sparks a decent move in a stock, but that it also then recently finished off a chart motion, which could result in some upside as well. So I just wanted to point that out, but we're going to get rid of everything on the chart, and then we're going to reinstitute just a few important pieces to basically have a cleaner chart to look at. Now this downtrend resistance is still here, and we're going to leave that there until it breaks it and leaves it behind. But for now, it still has put in 3 confirmations of that, and we'll see what happens if it continues to move up. Depending on how quickly it gets there, this would put it into maybe the teens by the time it runs into it, if it makes it up that high. Now, of additional interest to me is, let's put a box in here actually, rectangle. So the sort of danger zone, if you will, to my mind would be relitigating, for lack of a better term, relitigating this down gap, or this gap to the downside. It was an up gap, but it came down to fill it. So that's the level to which I'm going to want it to, say, continue to see buying pressure at. And if it loses that, then that's going to give me cause for concern, if I'm an AVTX bull. So that's the level at which I want to see it find some strength. Now, whether that means it needs to come down and retest it again, or even just sort of move sideways and build support over it, I don't know. But if it comes and it can't hold support there and it falls through, then that certainly gives me some concern for any hope of a reemergence on the bullish side of things. Additionally, I would put the level down here at 843. If it does slip that, best case scenario is it catches support there and then quickly reinitiates with this level and flips it to support. So we'll see. Now to the upside, the area that's proven to be really tough for it, you see the bottom of this wick, top of this body, and then these wicks here, this wick here. Right, that whole area has been really tough and sticky for AVTX for quite a while. And so that's the level at which I would want to see it be able to come up and, either challenge and re-challenge it to sort of make the bears continue to sell in that range and maybe exhaust the selling pressure and move through it. Or, on a strong enough move, coming through and flipping that previous strong resistance to strong support. That is the advantage of something being strong resistance, is if it can get flipped to support, it can often be really strong support. So those are the levels that I'm most interested in, and there's quite a spread between them, obviously. If I had to pull in an important additional level or two, this one here, 1249-ish, and then here as well, about 1438. So we'll leave it there to keep it relatively clean. But the other thing that I would watch is, depending on how it approaches approaches this downtrend resistance, if it's putting in a motion, especially like a sideways motion, and it looks like it might be compressing the price action within this descending triangle, I look for an explosive motion out of a descending triangle. There'd be one here too if it was in this space. There'd be one here if it was in this space. I don't think it can get there quickly enough. But if it does that, I look for an explosive move. Now, it can go either way. I tend to be more cautious on those, thinking that it's more likely that they spill out to the downside, but they don't have to. In any case, it sets up for one of those situations where it's like, let's see what it does in this zone, and sort of take it from there. Now, if we get rid of all of that and just hide it for a moment, I'll put it back on, and see where we are on the EMAs. Now, interestingly enough, because of all this relatively sideways action, coupled with this huge sell-off that we saw, it leaves it in kind of an odd situation that, I wouldn't expect, just popping the EMAs on here out of nowhere, where the 34 is up quite a bit, but the 8 and the 21 are in relatively close, and it's actually challenging the 8 today. So, interesting setup there. We see it recently unraveled into a bearish formation on the EMAs, but these two, like I say, are relatively close together. They were fairly close together back here too, and you see how they bunched up, and it gave it an opportunity to make a bigger move. I'd be looking for it to maybe do something like that again if it's going to reset up for another big motion. I don't know, but that would be something to maybe look for as well, depending on how things move in the days ahead. But those are the important levels to my mind. Now, flipping over here to the Think or Swim study, we also see it bounced right out of the bottom of the channel, right off the bottom of the channel, I should say. And that would have been where it finished filling the gap. So again, interesting sort of lining up of the bottom mid-range of this channel. So it didn't need to stretch all the way down, like we would have seen, down here where it was out the bottom of the channel. This is the bottom mid-range of the channel. You see the mid-range here, and then this is the bottom mid-range. So in any case, filled that gap as it happened to bounce off of that bottom mid-range, and now it's heading back to maybe try to test the mid-range of the channel, that bright blue line. Now, if it can do that, that's always sort of it's not really a coin flip, but it's a fork in the road. That's a better analogy. Fork in the road, where it's saying, okay, I'm at the mid-range of the channel. Am I going to build support off of this and stretch and try to push toward the upper bound of the channel and get some real solid bullish momentum going? Or am I going to lose support of the mid-range of the channel, hit a rejection, and come back toward the lower bound of the channel, thus keeping the bears very much in power, as we see they have been for quite some time, right? Now, additionally, there are several trigger candles here, and then it's just put in 5 days of firing now. So again, sometimes what we see is as it's sitting at the mid-range and it's triggering, and then it starts to fire, we see that counter move. So you see here, as it was finishing up triggering and it fired, we see the counter move potentially to the downside, catches a support, and then the actual move is to the upside. Now, is that how it's going to play out? I don't know. This is the first indication of that possibility today, but that sort of quick counter move and then overreaction to the other side, so in this case, overreaction to the upside, is something that we can often see play out on the study here on Think or Swim. Doesn't always have to be the case, but I'm interested to see how that plays out, especially as it is approaching the mid-range of the channel as well. RSI obviously on the rise. Bearish momentum sort of getting a plateau here today, so I'm interested to see, does that start to peel back? Does that flatten out? What does that do in the days ahead? Because you see it was picking up pretty solid momentum here for the bears, and then maybe a little bit of a plateau today to give it an opportunity to maybe neutralize the trend or reverse the trend. I don't know. It's a lot to reverse a trend, which I used to say all the time, but I should remind folks of that. Obviously in a bearish trend at the moment. So neutralizing would be the first step, and then potentially reversing the trend. But it's been under a lot of pressure, And, through all this crazy motion that it's put in, it has been dominated by bears. All right, folks, I think that'll do it for this one. I hope your trading week is off to a good start. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.